You're holding your phone, thumb over your mother's name, and before she even answers, some part of you has already started grieving her. Not because anything happened, just because you know someday it will. That ache in advance has a name, and it isn't sadness. It's a grip, the same one that clenches when you think about a job ending, a friendship fading, a body getting older. You've been calling this caution. It isn't. It's a private tax you pay on things you still have, for a loss that hasn't arrived yet. Stick with this, and you'll see exactly why that advance grief costs you twice. Once now, once later, for the same event. And by the end, you'll see what actually happens the moment you stop bracing. Why an old philosopher compared it to a window that never chases the view down the street. That's the real shape of nothing being able to touch you again. But first, the reason you clicked. You clicked on this because somewhere in you, there's a version of yourself that nothing can reach anymore. Words bounce off. Loss doesn't land. People leave, and you barely notice the door closing. That fantasy isn't stupid. It's one of the oldest wishes a human being can have. But it's aimed at the wrong target. You've been picturing invulnerability as a wall you build. Thicker skin, harder heart, less caring. What if the thing you actually want isn't a wall at all? What if it's something closer to an open hand? Here's the problem with the wall. The moment you decide the world is an enemy waiting to strike again, you never actually put the sword down. Seneca noticed this in people who'd already survived one disaster. Even in total safety, their minds refused to rest, because a mind that's been shocked once starts living in permanent readiness for the next blow. That readiness isn't protection, it's a second wound, self-inflicted, running 24 hours a day. Seneca said something sharper still. A mind trained in panic doesn't avoid danger, it runs from it. And running is exactly how you turn your back on the thing that can now catch you unaware.
So the bracing doesn't guard you.
It exhausts you. But there's a second trap hiding right behind it. Think about the thing you're most afraid of losing right now. Notice what that fear is actually doing to you today, in this ordinary hour, while you still have it. Seneca pointed out something almost mathematical. Dread of a future loss and grief over a past one feel identical inside the body. Which means if you spend today afraid of losing something, you're not saving yourself future pain. You're just paying grief's price twice, once in advance and once when it actually happens. Now, the honest objection. If nothing lasts, and you make peace with that, doesn't caring itself start to look pointless? Why plan? Why love hard? Why try, if it's all going to slip away regardless? Seneca answers this directly, and it's not what you'd expect from a philosophy of acceptance. He says, don't be indifferent. Foresee what can be foreseen. Plan for it. Avoid harm long before it arrives. What he's rejecting isn't care, it's the anxious grip on top of care. He compares the things you love to plants in leaf. You don't love a flowering plant less because you know its season ends. You attend to it more, precisely because you know. So if grip isn't the answer, what actually survives when something ends? Here's the turn that changes everything. Seneca says, the one thing loss can never touch is the having had. The object can be taken, the memory of enjoying it, using it, being changed by it, that's already banked, permanently, the instant it happened. To have may be taken from us, to have had, never. Read that again slowly. It means every joy you fully lived is already safe, forever, the moment you lived it. Loss isn't theft, It's just the closing of a transaction that was already complete.
But knowing this intellectually doesn't relax anything, does it?
You can repeat "to have had never" all day and still lie awake, gripping. That's because letting go was never something you do harder. William James described the shift from tension to peace as the strangest kind of change he'd ever studied, because it almost never arrives by effort. It arrives by relaxing, by simply throwing the burden down, not fighting for calm, setting the fight aside. So here's something worth answering, not just to yourself. Tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you're still gripping today that would probably survive you opening your hand? Picture what that open hand actually feels like in daily life. Zhuangzi describes a window in an empty room. The landscape passes through it, lights it up, is genuinely seen by it, and then the landscape stops outside. The room doesn't chase the view down the street when it leaves. It doesn't grip the light as it fades. It just stays empty enough to be entered again by whatever comes next. That's what "nothing will affect you again" really means. Not that you stop feeling the world. It means the world stops lodging inside you as permanent residue. So here's where the rope from the beginning ends up. The hand isn't opening because it gave up. It's opening because it finally noticed the grip was the injury. Marcus Aurelius put the whole thing in one plain, almost embarrassingly simple line. How easy it is for a person to put aside every turbulent, borrowed imagination and be at once in complete rest. Not someday, after enough discipline. Now. Nothing and no one will affect you the way they used to. Not because you built a wall strong enough to survive them, but because you quietly stopped needing anything to stay still long enough to hurt you. Tell me below what an open hand would actually look like in your life right now.